In my most arrogant moments when I was much younger, I used to say there's only a dozen good poets in the city of Chicago. Apparently they're all here tonight. They're better than me, and I'm starting to get jealous, and that sucks.
Deal with it.
You know. Jerry, that was outstanding. You coming back?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Welcome back.
I'd have been here earlier if I'd known about it. I mean, I've been reading, and Janet has been hosting like a half mile.
Oh, yes, of course.
A half mile from here.
Jerry, I left out a breadcrumb trail.
Okay.
Now,
How come we're not invited to that one? That's not
I really don't know how we're going to talk to three new poets tonight, because each one successively was profound, both satirical yet genuine, both presence and power. But this is Janet's moment, because it has come to my attention that Miss Janet Kuypers, host of the Gallery Cabaret at 2020 North Oakley, will likely read for her last performance in Chicago for a very long while as she leaves and moves on to Scandinavia and to tour the subcontinent. And this must be a poignant moment for her. It's certainly a poignant moment for me as an MC, because I've never seen anybody off. Usually they show up and say, hey, you suck, I'm leaving. But this time she's actually saying, I'm okay with this, but I gotta go. So, you have the floor uninterrupted until you feel that you've poured your soul out properly on a stage in Chicago. And everybody will support you. If I had known, I would have bought you flowers. Dead flowers, for the record.
Probably.
But, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor as the host of Quenchers that we welcome up for the last time for her last performance on an open mic stage while she goes to pursue other adventures, Miss Janet Kuypers, host of Gallery Cabaret.
Figured I'd be, well, I've got my Marine husband, so I know it properly. So, hi, my name is Janet Kuypers. You people asked, why didn't I get invited to this thing? I ran this thing. It was taken over originally from David Rubin. Charlie Newman ran it for a while, and it was passed on to me. And it moved to the Gallery Cabaret. It's every other week. And because it was leaving, because I'm moving actually to Austin, Texas. And we leave Saturday. And so I had to pass my open mic on, and Dave Getchick took it over.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Dave Getchick took it over. Yep, and so it's every other Wednesday. It is not tomorrow, but it is the next Wednesday. And I don't know the schedule because I'm not the host anymore. So that's all I'm gonna say. It's a cool place, and it's 7 till 9 usually, or sometimes 9 to 11 depending. But he sends out things on Facebook and emails, and you can bug somebody, and somebody will know about it. Now that's enough of that. But I will say one thing about that open mic. I was the only host, as you see all the camera equipment, I'm doing this especially for my husband because he's in Texas. I was the only host in Chicago that video recorded open mics and features, and they were a weekly podcast. And I even said to my husband, computer guy, I said, is anybody actually downloading these podcasts? Can you check us out? And so he's like, let me check. He's like, well, after filtering out spammers and stuff like that, it looks like one is downloaded every 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome! Poets! What the hell is that? Is that awesome? So I feel really bad that I had to stop that for leaving, but that was, there are records, and I put it up on YouTube posts for people as well. And in fact, I saw Gregorio, and he was thrilled that he featured at the cafe when it was originally there. Near Foster on
After Wilson, I hope.
And he's like, I completely forgot you were recording it. So he said, hey, I saw your video on YouTube. And he's like, that's the coolest thing. So you can probably find them somewhere there for that. I did not do a Halloween theme for the 3 pieces that I'd chosen to read for tonight. And I can do other pieces as well. But I thought I would pick the strangest pieces that I could come up with for this, and this is what I had said. This first one is something I've never read before, and I have more male friends than female friends, and I think this is like talking about the sometimes cattiness, bitchiness, backstabbiness of girls, and what? That? Why do I have more male friends than female? No. So, we'll see how this ranting complaint about that goes. This is called Once Wanted You as My Friend. I should laugh about this. I know that people will probably hear your stories and think that I was a bad and evil girl. I don't care. I don't want to be a part of your life anymore. I wanted you as my friend after I was falling apart, and I thought I had no one, and I wanted my life back, and because I believed you. You told people I was your best friend, and you are a liar, plainly put. I didn't know you'd fuck your best friend's date. Hell, fuck the guy for a month and let your neurotic egos freak out so you can't take it anymore. I don't give a shit about the 1.5-year recovery period from that evil spell of yours. I should never have forgiven you. Maybe you need attention from every penis you can get it from. Maybe you're more of an attention whore than I could ever be, more than anyone could ever be. But my neurotic tendencies didn't keep me at my parents' house while I started for a second job because I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And maybe my tendencies didn't make me lose my friends or go through men like hand drags or give me sexually transmitted diseases. And didn't leave me fucking someone else while I was engaged. I never orgasmed while I was with him, having sex with him, you'd say. Well, I don't know what to tell you. All I can think is that you've made this bed out of straw and fabric scraps, and I don't care if it rained yesterday and your precious bed smells like shit and you've got nothing clean to grab onto. Well, you've made that bed, and now you have to lie in it. So have a good night's sleep while you try to make sense of what you think is insane. God, the only insane thing is that your man still puts up with you, and how much of your story haven't you told him yet? So yes, I should be laughing, because you're the one filled with so many questions. Please, for your benefit, for our own benefit, get them figured out. I wanted to cut off ties with you sooner, but I would have had to lose one of my closest friends in the process, and we couldn't have that. Oh, of course not. But I'm glad you got the word mentality, misconstrued what I said, and that's what you did. Nothing more, nothing less. But at least you got the idea, because no, I don't want to be a part of your life anymore. I don't want to openly condone what you're doing to your man, what you're going to still do to your man, and I want to walk away from this unscathed. So, I think I will. And so now you feel like I'm a hunchback as I'm reading. I'm sorry about that. This one I read in a show at Beach Poets a few years ago.
Yeah,
Beach Poets.
Sundays in the summer.
That was good.
Yep, although the season obviously is closed right now. But this is called Escaping Every Cage. I felt caged in that tiny Windsor hotel room. I wanted to get out. That's when he struck. I was attacked, knocked over, strangled. I managed to break free, scraped knees, bruised and bloody knees. Strangers offered to help me as I made my way through the lobby. I had to get so far away, I left the country and never went back. When I couldn't take being trapped at work, when I was too caged by those office walls, I quit my job and drove across the country in my car. Now, I know a car could be a cage, but with this little cage, I felt like I could be free, and I could go where I wanted and do what I wanted to do. And I was free for that split second of time until someone tried to kill me in my car, and they put me into another cage again. When I was in the hospital for weeks, I would tear that medical bracelet off of my wrist daily. Please, don't track me. When I was able to walk, I would try to leave, but I didn't know where to go, and someone would find me again and bring me back to my cell. When I was a child, I wanted to get away from my family, wanted to get away from my town. I wanted something bigger, faster, stronger than anything I ever knew before. And so, as I grew older, I took those childhood memories, those childhood toys, those childhood stories, and one by one, started placing them on an island surrounded by deep water where no one could touch them, and they would always remain just on the horizon. I have always loved the water. I swam all my life. I swam in pools with friends when I was little. I swam alongside a tropical fish in the Oahu's coast. I swam with dozens of white-tipped sharks off the Galapagos Islands. When I get close to water, I get itchy just to get in. But even when I would go into that water, I'd see that island in the distance, holding all of my childhood traumas, and I still never felt entirely free. One day, I decided to face those ancient cages that still hold me down. I wanted to face it all, battle all those past demons. So I went down to the shoreline, arched my hand above my eyebrows, looked for that island of mine. The water of the shoreline lapped over my feet, pushing the shoreline farther inland today. I kept searching until I realized my island fell into the ocean. Everything from my past disappeared, except my memories. That day, I couldn't go into the water. We all have our cages. Sometimes we can't see them, but they're there, holding us back, restraining us, holding us down, holding us in. And as I sit in my cage right now, I look at these walls, hear the cars driving past, and I think of all the things that hold us down. Yes, I write about things that aren't true, but one of those things was, and I think you can probably infer what that was. But I also run a Scars Publications. We produce 2 literary magazines that are released as ISBN books that are sold through Amazon, through the United States and Europe and the UK. And if you want to know anything about it, know the website, scars.tv. And you can find info. What is it? Scars. S-C-A-R-S. Scars. You can remember Scars, right? Scars.tv. It was originally, the idea for the Scars was written, noted after a prose poem of mine called Scars. So I have a collage of things of my prose poem Scars, plus Scars 97, Scars 2000, and a little interjection of something new here. So this is a conglomeration of things called Scars. An admiral, a general, a highly ranked military official. When you get somewhere in the military, when you grease the white wheels, when you climb the corporate ladder, when you get as high as you can, when you make your graceful exit, when you've been adorned with pins and medals and badges of honor, and you've got all of your stripes on your sleeve, and when you accomplish it all, and when you retire, well, then what? Well, I wear my scars like badges. These deep marks show through from under my skin like war paint on an Apache chief, decorated with feathers, the skins of her prey. Scars? like when the Grossman's German Shepherd Doberman mix bit the inside of my knee. I was babysitting 2 girls and a dog named Roscoe. I remember being pushed to the floor by this dog. I was on my back kicking as this dog was gnawing on my leg. And I remember thinking, I can't believe that a dog named Roscoe is attacking me. And I was also thinking that I had to be strong for those 2 little girls there who were watching it all. I couldn't cry. Or like when I stepped off Scott's motorcycle at 2 a.m. and burned my calf on the exhaust pipe. I was drunk and he was driving, and I was careless when I swung my leg over the back. It didn't even hurt when I did it, but the next day it blistered and peeled. It looked inhuman. I had to bandage it for weeks. It hurt like hell. Or like when I was 5 years old and my dad called me an asshole because I made a mess in the living room for a mess I didn't even make. Or like when I scratched my chin when I had the chicken pox. See, whenever I look down at these scars, I should be proud of surviving some traumas, like the mark on my stomach from when they piped liquid food into me while I was in a coma for weeks. Like the mark at my forehead, so the intracranial pressure monitor could make sure that my brain didn't swell and scrape the skull, while a ventilator breathed for me for nearly a week. Whenever I look down and I look at my scars, I should be proud of surviving some traumas and having the scars to prove it. But sometimes, all I feel are the aches and pains. Is this what scars do to you? Or is it the memory of surviving the trials and getting the scars? Is this what you have to show for everything you've done? And are these your pins and military stripes that you get after actually accomplishing your goal? Because what do you do when you're retired? Do people care about your medals of honor, or do you carry so many that they just weigh you down? Well, I tell people that if they wake up with bruises and cuts that they don't remember, then they must have had fun the night before. Because each marking, each scar is a story. It's a memory. It's a way to remember how you lived. If you cannot feel the effects of life, then it is a way with these marks to gauge my living. It is with these marks that I feel decorated.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Those were my sketchbook 3. I don't know if you would like me to do ones or call on memories or...
Do you have children, churches, and daddies with you?
I can always call it up, or I could go from memory because I'm awesome at it.
The title of another of your publications?
One of the literary magazines I run is called Children, Churches, and Daddies, and yes, it's named after a poem of mine, and now I have to go find
And you
it.
put some of my stuff in it that editors with bad taste rejected.
And I've accepted a few things from Jerry Pendergast and Mr. Yankee Doodle Dandy over there.
The editors with bad taste rejected.
So, yeah, and now I have to go find a poem, of course. Let me, I will start, because while I'm calling this one up, I will start with the first poem I ever read at an open mic. And it was also, which was Yammer.
Oh, Lisa Heminger.
Lisa Heminger, because I'm not going to sing because I could not stop for death. You can't stop for me because you dramatically different stuff to the Yellow Rose of Texas. But I actually have a video for this poem, and it was called Too Far. When he met me, he told me I looked like Kim Basinger, long blonde locks. But as time wore on, I knew I wasn't her, and I could never be her, and I was never good enough, thin enough, pretty enough. Sorry about that. So I got a perm. I straightened my teeth. I bought the Wonder Bra, but that wasn't doing the trick. So I decided to go to the gym. I exercised. I used a stair stepper. I ate rice cakes and wheat germ. but I wasn't thin enough. I only dropped 20 pounds. So I went to the spa. I soaked myself in mud and wrapped myself in cellophane and bought the amino acid facial creams, but I knew they didn't really work. So I went to the doctor and got my nose slimmed, my tummy stapled, my thighs sucked. Thought about getting a rib or two removed, you know, like Cher. But I figured ribs, they've got to be there for something. And hey, that's just going too far. Because this one was requested, this one is called, and I usually say CC and D.
I'm repairing the mic.
Oh, you're awesome.
The mic is cursed tonight because it's Halloween.
Cursed mic.
And it's the only time in the history of my MC that I ever actually touched a mic, which is why it will never work properly again. Don't charge me for that mic. Jim, are we insured for this?
Hell yeah.
What kind of suit?
Hallelujah.
All right, encore poem for Janet before we send her off to the Yellow Rose of Texas.
Oh, jeez, no. This one is called Children, Churches, and Daddies. And the little girl said to me, I thought only daddies drank beer. And I found myself trying to make excuses for the glass in my hand. I remember being in the church, a guest of a wedding of two people I didn't know. My date pointed out two little boys walking to their seat in front of us in little suits and cowboy boots. This is what is Central Illinois. And my date said that he was certain that those boys would grow up to be gay. And the worst part was that their father was the coach of the high school football team. I think I laughed, but I hesitated. I remember being in the church. It was Christmas Eve. My date's family went up for communion, and all I could be thinking was that singing the hymns was hard enough. I don't know the words. What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? And I stayed seated, and everyone else slowly walked to the front of the church. Little soldiers in a little line, the little children in little dresses walking behind their mommies and daddies. And the little girl said, I thought only daddies drank beer. And I found myself trying to make excuses. Thank you.
Congratulations, you paid your dues in Chicago, and you helped revolutionize a poetry community that has been shrinking for the last 24 years. I personally read at that stage with Lisa Heminger and Yammer, no longer in existence. You killed her.
Back in the day when we were there, it was me and Joanna Marshall and Beth Welch and her, and we were just sitting around a table with water, like at the beginning. Nobody was there.
There are so few of us. Unlike music venues where there are a dozen per night, there are so few of us. That's why we keep this tradition, and we are losing one of our own. But hopefully our loss will be Texas's reward. Just tell George Bush Popko says he's an asshole. I declare by the powers invested in me as an amateur open mic poet, this is Janet Kuypers.